Hello, this is Kenneth Reese, the founder, owner, and operator of WataugaOnline.com. Happy 2021 to you, our viewer, as we finally say goodbye to the year 2020. And we're going to spend a couple of minutes today with Dr. Scott Elliott, Superintendent of Watauga County Schools, to recap a little bit about 2020 for the Watauga County school system, but more importantly, look ahead to the new year and how things are changing there. So first things first, happy belated New Year to you, Dr. Elliott, as we record this on Thursday, January the 7th.
Happy New Year to you, Kenneth. Always good to see you.
Well, let's hop right into it. Let's recap a little bit about 2020. Of course, we know the struggles and trials and victories that that were part of the 2020 Watauga County school year with COVID. Some of those victories that I like to call is the fact that meals were distributed. We have found new ways to learn, creative ways to learn. And to me, that's all victory. So let me get your perspective a little bit. Give us a recap of last year.
Well, 2020 is a year we'll never forget, right? And I think
That's a
that
fact.
looking forward, we mentioned this several months ago. I think we will look back on 2020 after the stress and the trauma to some extent of COVID and this pandemic fall away. And we'll look back and think about all the positive things that were gained from 2020. And I appreciate you asking me that question because, like you know, I was kind of ready to see 2020 in the books, and I'm very optimistic for 2021. But you're right. There are many positive things to look back on, and I choose to view it that way. I think that we've talked before and found that adversity seems to bring out different things in different people. People who may tend towards the pessimistic or the negative, that gets accentuated. But I've seen far, far more of the positivity and the optimism and the grace and the love that 2020 and COVID has brought out in our community, not just in the school system. I will brag on the schools in just a minute, but I just want to say thank you to this entire community of coming together. And we've seen that through media outlets such as yours and reporting and sharing factual information out to our community. I'm very active with the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm very proud of the work of the Chamber and the Keep Boone Healthy initiative that has been a conduit to providing information and bringing different community groups together. I'm super appreciative and proud of our local health department, App Healthcare, and Jen Green under her leadership, and our local hospital, Appalachian Regional, and their work, and all of our different medical providers, first responders, nurses, all of those heroes out there. I'm sorry that we've had to deal with this, but it just has shown a positive light on this community and all the ways that we as a community take care of one another. And so I appreciate that. And certainly I'm really proud of the work of our schools and our teachers, administrators, and thankful for our parents and our students. None of this is ideal. We're not in a situation that we want to be in. We do want our students to be in school with us every day and are working towards that in the coming year. But yeah, you mentioned the meals. We look back on those 250,000 meals that our cafeteria staff and teachers assistants and bus drivers helped to prepare and deliver through those summer months that really were a lifeline to so many families. And our staff continued to do that work curbside every day at our schools to provide meals to families who need it. And as the third largest employer, I really am proud that we didn't have layoffs. We didn't have to cut our staffing. Many times, employees of the school system were the only ones in their families who still had their jobs or still had their health insurance. And we were able to take care of our folks and help them to even if it meant changing jobs or reassigning assignments, but to be able to keep people employed. Was important to our employees and important to our local economy. And of course, taking care of our students and all of the physical, the mental, social, and academic needs and pressures that this pandemic has put on our students, the hard work of our teachers and social workers, school counselors and nurses, everyone to really take care of those students as best we can. And we know we've not been able to meet every need. We know that we need and want our students to be back in school with us more and are looking forward to that happening. But I will say that we've seen a lot of resilience and we've seen a lot of problem solving. And we, for many months there, had to essentially create an almost whole new school system to be able to deliver education to our students and to continue to support everyone. So as we close the book on 2020, I choose to look back on all of those positive things that give us strength moving forward.
And of course, that work continues because it's really hard to believe that we are coming up on the year mark of COVID. What was it, March 19th or the 20th, that the
It was
governor closed
March,
schools?
that's right, middle of March.
So that work continues in the Watauga County school system. And that's why we're going to move into 2021 here and talk about what's going on. Of course, remote learning still continues. You have already issued some remote learning days during winter weather. Again, we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, January 7th. It's very possible that we'll have a snow day tomorrow on Friday, which this video may be posted over the weekend. So you, the viewer, may have already know that by
We'll
now.
find out, won't we?
Yeah, we'll find out. But that's one of the positives that we have talked, or I certainly hope it's been a positive that we have talked about, limiting our number of snow days. And then, as you said, meals are continuing to be served. And so let's talk a little bit about 2021 and what you're doing moving forward.
Yeah, we're pulling forward a lot of the benefits or the things that we learned through first semester. I want to say thank you to our Board of Education and to our county commissioners for their investment in the computers that we've been able to use and issue out to all of our staff members and to our students so that remote learning could be possible. And thank you to all of our business partners who've helped us to provide Wi-Fi hotspots to students who could use them. We still have the significant challenge of many families who do not have access to high speed or high quality internet access. And hopefully, looking back on this will be that moment in time that state elected leaders and business leaders came together to fix that issue. And yes, while again, nothing is ideal or perfect for anyone, our experience with remote instruction right now, to be able to take the place of many of our snow days, we're so far ahead of what we were able to do in remote instruction than we would have been a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Just that experience from first semester. So we've already saved ourselves 3 days, election day and 2 other snow days that we would have needed to add to the end of the school year. We're not having to go, that much farther into spring break or take away spring break or that much farther into the summer.
Yeah.
We want to balance these things out. As you know, we get into these mountain 7-10 day weather patterns, and it looks like Monday, Tuesday cohorts of students have been affected more, and may be that this week the other cohort gets a turn. But that's a benefit. That's something we've been able to do and to learn and to work through, and we were forced to do it because of COVID. We've also learned a lot about how to meet the needs of our students remotely, their social, emotional needs, and being able to provide services to them, even when students aren't physically at school. And we've learned a lot about, cleaning procedures and safety procedures and different ways of doing things that will continue forward and maybe help to minimize flu season or some other unpredicted kind of health issue. And as I mentioned earlier, we've also certainly strengthened our relationships with other community partners that we rely on. So one of the things that we are working on right now is the vaccine distribution, the vaccines for COVID. Our school nurses just this week received training in rapid tests, which previously we've needed our students and staff members to go to a medical provider to be able to get those tests. Now we're working with the health department so that our nurses can provide those rapid tests to our students on site to shorten their isolations or quarantines, or maybe diagnose other health conditions, that sort of thing, or get our students back into athletics more quickly. But also we're looking towards these vaccination clinics as we move through the phase 1, 1A, 1B, and the sections of 1B as we move to essential workers and school personnel. Our school nurses will be able to help administer some of those vaccines to our employees in our school site. Also, we announced this week that our schools will be used as needed by the health department and the hospital as community vaccine clinics. And there was a little bit of confusion about that earlier this week. That does not mean that the public will be coming into our schools and coming into the buildings and getting vaccines from our nurses. Like we have done with several test events, we will be planning drive-through events, curbside events on Saturdays and Wednesdays, when students are not at school. But our school facilities are located all throughout the community and are well suited to be convenient, safe locations for the public to be able to come to school at times when students aren't there to be able to get vaccines. So those are things we never would have imagined that we as school folks would be doing. But we've seen increasingly in so many different ways the value of our community schools, of our public schools, to helping to meet a community-wide need. And we're really proud to be able to do that kind of work.
I want to mention something real quick that I've seen some folks on social media talk about. They are still wondering when schools will go back to full 5-day in-person attendance.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to point out once again to everybody that is not necessarily a decision that is made on the local level. Correct me if I'm wrong here. That will come from the governor's office first and foremost. And then the local systems, depending on the spread in their counties, et cetera, can decide what to do. But I think it's important to reiterate that because I'm starting to see more and more of that kind of questions on social media.
Yeah, those are legitimate questions, and your answer is accurate. It's kind of a blend of both. So, just as a reminder, back to over the summer, and as we were coming back into school, the governor outlined this Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C for school operations. Plan C is all remote, no students at school. Plan B is what's called um, uh, moderate social distancing, which means students are kept 6 feet apart, moderate social distancing when possible. And Plan A is minimal social distancing, which means that we do all of the screening and safety procedures, but there is not the 6 feet of social distance requirement. So we moved from Plan C, all remote, to when the governor allowed us to move to Plan B. So we needed to reduce our capacity, meaning fewer students at school, in order to maintain that 6 feet of distance. That's why we created the 2-by-3 schedule, 2 days a week, the cohorts. Even though maybe there are some school systems and schools that are so small, or they have so many students that are on all remote instruction that they could do 4 days a week and still only have half of their students there, but that's not possible for us.
Yeah.
Then the governor back in the fall said, for students in kindergarten through 5th grade, if it's possible for a school system to do it, a school system could move forward with Plan A, which is the minimal social distancing requirement. So we have not done that yet. So, but back to your point, we do not have the option to move beyond Plan B for middle school or high school until the governor or DHHS moves us to Plan A or gives us that option.
And that appears right now will not happen anytime soon because the numbers across North Carolina continue to go up and up and up and up. The numbers of COVID infected people, I should say,
As
continue
much
to
as I
go
want it
up.
to happen as soon as possible, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
And I'll make
Now,
this point too, real quick. We also know that the vaccines are going to take, it may take a better part of the year for a majority of the people to get vaccinated because it's still in such short supply. So,
that's right.
um,
While we're excited about vaccine deployment right now, I am hearing health professionals saying that based on the current level of vaccine availability, it could be into the summer or early fall
yeah.
before we have large scale community vaccination. But so, we are restricted by Plan B for middle school and high school, but school systems do have the option to be in Plan A for K-5. And across the state, you've seen everything from still schools that are all remote in K-5 to schools that are in Plan A for K-5. Our school system is continuing to evaluate, our Board of Education is continuing to evaluate community conditions and spread within our school, school community and school families. I've continued to say we want to move towards bringing K-5 students back on Plan A. That'd probably look like a 4-day-a-week schedule as soon as possible. I've continued to provide information to our Board of Education about local community metrics and also the school system logistics of what that would take, like changing bus routes or staffing patterns and things like that. It isn't just that one day more students will come into the building. There are a number of different things that we would have to do and still comply with those DHHS guidelines. The Board of Education We have a regular monthly meeting coming up next week. I think that they will be discussing how they want to move forward with that decision. They won't be making a decision next week, but it may be that they have a special called meeting sometime later in the month or early February, or discuss it at their February meeting. Certainly, they are concerned right now about the increase in numbers that we are seeing
Hmm.
as a result of the Christmas and New Year holiday. We've seen a significant increase this week in the number of students and staff members in isolation, and those who have tested positive. We've been able to keep them, safely at home and outside of our school to prevent the spread. But nonetheless, we are seeing those spikes fairly consistent with what we've seen back in November, December, around Thanksgiving. And as I've tried to explain many times, while we know that students or children 10 years and younger are less likely to spread the virus to others than older students or adults are, when we bring students back together in larger numbers, say we go from a class right now that has 20 students in it, 10 of them are there at a time, 2 days a week, and the other 10. Now we bring all 20 of them back together. If or when we do that, there is minimal social distancing, which means
Hmm.
that if any one of them does become sick, more, if not all of them, are close contacts, which means that they would all then go into isolation.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, with the smaller groups, keeping the 6 feet of social distance, we've not really had to isolate or quarantine whole classes or grade levels. We've been able to isolate individual students. So it's a trade-off. Be great to have more students back more days a week, but you significantly increase the risk that at any one time they'll all have to go into quarantine.
Well, and
Uh,
unfortunately, we've seen that happen in Avery County. They've had a lot of problems having to quarantine certain classes at certain schools for the last several months. And like you said, so far here in Watauga, we've been lucky not to, or not to have to. But the numbers in Watauga continue to grow. As a matter of fact, Watauga is only a handful of counties that's not in the red classification from the Department of Health and Human Services. And I forget the names of those classifications right off the bat,
right.
but like that red category, community spread,
That's right.
they call it. And those red counties are the ones where the community spread has been the most abundant.
And you might recall that we were there. We were there back earlier in the fall. Then we came back into the orange status. And then after Thanksgiving, we were back in the red again. And only recently have we moved back into the orange. And I commend everyone in the community for working so hard at that, because the healthier our community is, the more likely it is that we can safely operate schools and keep our schools open. But it's a good reminder, even though the 2 day a week schedule is not ideal, as a parent, I want my two kids back in school 4 or 5 days a week. It has allowed us to maintain consistency and keep our schools open. And that's
Yes.
the trade off. And so, as we see more vaccines, as we see a decrease in community spread, the Board of Education will feel more comfortable with bringing students back and being able to maintain consistent school operations without the likelihood of having to put large groups in isolation or close schools. That's where we are right now. The board will be talking about that probably at their February Board of Education meeting.
Okay. Well, we're running out of time for today's session with Dr. Elliott. As you can imagine, he is a busy, busy man. And as we record this again on Thursday afternoon, January the 7th, ahead of a winter storm that's moving in, we'll see what kind of preparations have to be made, maybe for the operation of schools for Friday. Um, Closing thoughts you'd like to leave us with today?
Just as we said when we first started our conversation, Kenneth, I remain very optimistic for 2021, and I'm so proud of the work of our teachers and our schools and all of their accomplishments. We didn't even get into that, maybe we will at some time, but we've tried to create as much normalcy for our students, and many of our students have really taken those opportunities and thrived. I'm so proud of the teachers who continue to be recognized as Teachers of the Year. We have two foreign language teachers. Miss Scoggins and Miss Tedder, who have received national and state awards for their teaching. Miss Ellington, our teacher at Parkway and Mabel School, who was our North Carolina Regional Teacher of the Year, and just all of the hard work that everyone is putting in. I'm just so proud of everyone for being resilient and providing our students with the best opportunities possible. We're going to continue to work. We're going to continue to try to do everything we can to keep our schools healthy. I appreciate everyone's patience. And I appreciate all of the kindness and support that parents and the community members have shown to our teachers and to our schools. And we just all need to continue to work together to keep up the good work.
We'll schedule another update, hopefully for maybe about 2 weeks or so. We had been doing these maybe once a month, but as the vaccines start, maybe we can do one a little bit sooner.
Love
That
to.
is Dr. Scott Elliott, Superintendent of Watauga County Schools. Thank you for your time, sir.
Good to
I'm
see you.
Kenneth Reese, the founder, owner, and operator of WataugaOnline.com. Stay safe, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.